Hello students, today we're talking about an I and O chart, or calculating intake and output. This is building on what we've talked about with conversions, so it's fitting to discuss it here. We've got to remember a couple of things, that there's 30 cc's, or cubic centimeters, in an ounce. There are 8 ounces in a cup, and when you do I and O, you're always going to calculate the intake and the output separately. So what I've got here is, as an example, is a chart for a patient and what they've done intake or outtake wise, or output wise, throughout the whole shift. So what I suggest that you do, since we're not working on a chart, I suggest that you make 2 columns. Make an intake column and make an output column. So when we're looking at this first one, 3.5 ounces of water, that means that they drank 3.5 ounces of water, but we need to make that cc's, so we're going to multiply it by 30. You guys know that I don't like the fraction key on the calculator, so instead of putting in 3.5, I'm going to put in 3.5 times 30. And that's an intake, so I'm going to write it on my intake column. And now at 8 o'clock, they voided 11 ounces. That means that they urinated, or you measured it from the bag, 11 ounces. But we need to turn it to cc's. So we're multiplying it by 30. So 11 times 30 is 330 cc's. And that would go in the output column because it's an output. At 8:30, they drank half a cup of tea and 5 ounces. If we know that a half a cup, 8 ounces are in a cup up here. So a half of a cup would be 4 ounces. 4 ounces plus this 5 ounces would be 9 ounces altogether. But we need to make that into cc's, so we have to multiply it by 30. And that's an intake. 9 times 30 is 270 cc's. At 10 o'clock, they drank a half of a 7-ounce bottle of ginger ale. Half of 7 ounces is 3.5 ounces, but we need to change that to cc's, so we're multiplying it by 30. And that's 105, and it's another intake, so we're putting it on the intake column. At 10:30, they voided 9 ounces, but remember, we're turning that into cc's, so we've got to multiply it by 30. 9 times 30 is 270 cc's, and that's an output, so it's going in the output column. At noon, they drank 6 ounces of tea and 7 ounces of beef broth, which is 13 ounces. But we've got to make that 13 ounces into cc's. So we got to go 13 times 30. And that's an intake, so it's going underneath the intake column. 5 ounces of water times 30 is 150. 16 ounces that they voided is 480, and I'm speeding through this a little bit faster because I think you get the gist of this part. Ginger ale, it's an intake. Absorbed IV fluid, that's an intake. It's going into the body, so that 250 right here is already in cc's. And then at 2:30, we measured 2 ounces of wound drainage. Wound drainage would be coming out of the body in some kind of collection tube. So, but we still need to make this into cc's. So it would be 60 cc's of wound drainage. And then we're going to, at the end of our shift, we're going to add the intake and the output, and we add them separately. That's why we made 2 columns. So if we add all of those outputs together, I get 1,140 cc's. And if we add all of the intakes together, crunching numbers away, right, you know. Make sure I got them all. 250, 90, 150, 390, 105, 270, and 105. Yep, I got them all. At this point, we would be able to make a judgment of whether or not our patient is retaining fluid, becoming dehydrated, or is okay. Okay? So you have 3 options. Retaining, dehydrated, or okay. In the medical field, 500 cc's seems to be the magic number. If these two vary by more than 500, there's something wrong. Okay? So this, if I take 1360 minus 1140, I know that my patient is okay because there's not a difference of more than 500. Now, if we were heavy on the intake, if we were more than 500 and we were heavy on the intake, that would be that they were retaining fluid. If we were heavy on the output by more than 500, that's when we would say that they would be dehydrated. Okay? I hope it provides a good example for you on how to calculate intake and output. I need to strongly suggest that you do not use an online calculator to do these conversions. If you use an online calculator, you will, big capital letters, will get the wrong answers. In the medical field, they use 30 cc's or in an ounce. In the science field, it's like 27 or 29 point something. But we are in the medical field, so we need to use 30 cc's or in an ounce. Do not use, again, I'm saying, do not use an online calculator to do these conversions. All right? You guys, if you have any questions, you can always email me at cjones@ictc.edu. I hope you guys have a great night and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.